With 71% of our planet covered with water, it's amazing how little we actually know about what goes on beneath the waves. New species are constantly being found, but there are much larger forces at work that we're only just beginning to understand. With that in mind, here are the top 10 strangest things that happen underwater. Number 10. The red tide. Red tides are an increasingly common oceanic phenomenon that occurs as a result of rapidly growing algal blooms. With such large quantities of red plant matter in a region, the ocean becomes discolored to give the characteristic appearance. It's also potentially very dangerous, with oxygen levels becoming severely depleted and in some cases, the release of toxins that are harmful to humans and other marine life. Some of the potential human illnesses are paralytic shellfish poisoning, diuretic shellfish poisoning, and amnesic shellfish poisoning. Red tides have been recorded across the world in the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Australia, and are becoming more frequent due to warming sea temperatures, low salinities, and increased nutrients being washed into the waters around coastlines, all of which create the perfect conditions for algae to thrive. A similar phenomenon, referred to as a pink algal bloom, is occasionally seen in colder climates such as around Greenland. They cause a pink-hued snow called watermelon snow, which helps to trap heat on the surface. This actually increases the melting of the ice sheets because it reduces the snow's reflectiveness by as much as 10%. Number 9. Undersea Rivers. Off the coast of California, 2 miles beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean is the Monterey Canyon. Despite being underwater, it looks quite similar to the Grand Canyon, and scientists have only relatively recently begun to understand that this has happened because of a vast undersea river. It's so big that beyond the valley itself, it's carved out a route on the ocean floor that extends for more than 200 miles. Phenomena like this are seen across the world, where these rivers can be many miles wide and thousands of miles long. The nutrients carried by these flows sustain life that otherwise wouldn't be able to survive there, and the geological features that surround them are similar to what you might find by a river on land. They meander, have banks along their sides, and even form oxbow lakes. The difference here, though, is that rather than being flows of water, they're the movements of sediment that are pushed along the ocean's floor. Very little is known about how this process works, and it's an example of how complicated the oceans of our planet actually are. Number 8. Underwater crop circles. Underwater crop circles were first documented by a group of divers off the coast of Japan in 1995. Soon after the initial find, a number of them were found in the nearby area. The mysterious thing about these perfectly arranged geometric formations was how they often vanished as quickly as they had appeared in the first place. At first, it was a complete mystery how these shapes were occurring, but further study revealed a surprising answer. It was because of the mating rituals of a species of pufferfish. They were making the circles to attract a mate. The males swim across the seabed, flapping their fins in a way to disrupt the sand and create the patterns. The fish themselves are only about 5 inches long, but some of these creations can be as much as 7 feet in diameter. Once complete, the females come to inspect what has been made, and if they like it, they lay their eggs in the center for the males to fertilize. Number 7. The Milky Sea. The Milky Sea is a place that's been part of nautical legends for centuries, and was even mentioned in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. The story's told of a large part of the ocean that glowed at night, and while scientists remain skeptical of the idea because of the sheer numbers of bacteria that would be needed to cause it, researchers found the world's largest area of bioluminescent ocean in 2005. At 6,000 square miles, the region off the coast of Somalia is twice the size of Connecticut and is thought to be caused by a large population of bacteria called Vibrio harveyi. It's not always present, but when it is, it's an incredible sight. This isn't the only instance of large areas of bioluminescence in water, though, and there are places that are far more accessible where you can experience the phenomenon for yourself. The coast of Tasmania, for example, are home to colonies of algae that glow under certain circumstances, and so are regions in Hong Kong, Sydney, and even the Indian River Lagoon in Florida. Number 6. Underwater waterfall. When you think of the biggest waterfalls in the world, you might think of Niagara Falls between Canada and the US, or the Victoria Falls between Zambia and Zimbabwe. But the largest waterfall to have been discovered is far less noisy and ferocious than either of these because it lies underwater in the Denmark Strait between Iceland and Greenland. We know that cold water is much denser than warm water, And when different temperature currents meet in the ocean, the cold water takes a direct route beneath the warm water in the same ways as water drops on a land-based waterfall. In the Denmark Strait, cold water from the Greenland Sea meets the Amnesic Sea, which causes the cold water to fall almost 11,500 feet, with more than 175 million cubic feet of water passing every second. That's the equivalent volume of nearly 2,000 Niagara Falls. Another similar underwater phenomenon is that of underwater waves. Known as internal waves, these movements of water can be gigantic, sometimes stretching as wide as 100 miles and being as tall as a skyscraper. They're supersized versions of the waves we see on the surface and can be catastrophic for submarines, drilling platforms, or anything else that gets caught in them. Number 5. Naturally formed cities. In 2013, divers off the coast of the Greek island of Zakynthos made a discovery that many thought would be one of the most significant in recent memory. Near Alikanos Bay, about 15 feet beneath the water's surface, they found what appeared to be paved flooring and the bases of circular columns, which seemed to suggest that these were the remains of a long-lost sunken city. What was unusual for this find, though, was that there was no sign of any pottery or any other types of artifacts that you would expect to see. This piqued the interest of researchers who began to take samples and eventually came to the conclusion that rather than being a human-made city, this was a series of naturally forming structures. The circular shapes had actually been formed by mineralization, where hydrocarbons were being released into the water from a fault within the seabed that hadn't fully ruptured. This happens quite often in the deep ocean, but is relatively rare in shallower waters and results in a release of gases, primarily methane, which react with the water. Number 4. The Great Blue Hole. The Great Blue Hole is a stunning submarine sinkhole on the Lighthouse Reef, which is an atoll in the Caribbean Sea that's about 62 miles away from the capital city of Belize. It's a popular destination for divers, and it's clear to see why. Amidst the turquoise waters is an ominously dark blue circle which hosts numerous species such as reef sharks, giant groupers, thousands of tropical fish, and amazing colorful formations. It's almost 1,000 feet across and is 410 feet deep. The hole was originally a sinkhole that formed thousands of years ago during the Ice Age, at a time when ocean levels were much lower. As water levels rose, it was filled to become what we see today. It's regarded as one of the must-dive locations in the world, where divers will descend into darkness and see massive stalactites. There are actually quite a few similar submarine sinkholes in the world, all forming in a similar way to the Great Blue Hole, which remains the largest ever to be discovered. If Belize is too far to travel, then you can also visit one in the South China Sea, the Bahamas, Australia, or in the Red Sea in Egypt. Number 3. Brine Pools. Brine pools occur deep within the oceans and are some of the deadliest places on Earth. One such place has recently been found at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. Water within the pool has a salt content about 5 times higher than the sea around it, and once animals enter it, it's virtually impossible for them to leave. Their decomposing corpses, along with falling detritus, add toxic chemicals to the water such as methane and hydrogen sulfide and make things even more inhospitable. They occur in places where there's very little water flow, so once material falls in, there's nowhere else for it to go, and the chemical levels get increasingly concentrated. As you approach a brine pool, it looks like a flowing river within the ocean, but then it becomes apparent that this is a deadly place, and you'll see corpses scattered across the floor. The only creatures that are able to survive here are tube worms, some species of shrimp, and bacterial life, which makes brine pools an area of interest for researchers who investigate how organisms survive in such extremes. Number 2. Icy Finger of Death. The ominously named Icy Finger of Death is also known as a brinacle, and it's a rare phenomenon that proves deadly for anything that comes into contact with it. It's all possible because when water contains high levels of salt, its freezing point becomes much lower. Brinicles form in both the Arctic and the Antarctic, where concentrated salty water is released from beneath larger ice formations. As it is much denser than normal seawater, it falls down towards the ocean floor. This brine is much colder than the water that surrounds it because it is trickled through ice, so as it falls, it freezes the fresh seawater, which forms a tube of ice around the plume. It essentially becomes an inside-out icicle, where instead of cold air freezing water from the outside, the sub-zero brine freezes the water from within. When this brinacle hits the ocean floor, it forms a web of ice that freezes everything it comes into contact with, including any unfortunate creatures that lie in its path, such as urchins and starfish. Number 1. underwater black holes. You may think of them as a dangerous space phenomenon that are thousands of light years away from us, but black holes actually exist in our oceans. These ones aren't collapsed stars though, but formations that at least resemble a black hole's ability to prevent anything from escaping. More precisely, these are ocean eddies, formed by colliding currents that create circular movements of water. In the southern Atlantic, they're said to be to water what a black hole is to light. They are known as maelstroms and can grow to be much bigger than a city. They hold billions of tons worth of water so tightly that nothing can escape from them. These aren't just a rare occurrence either. New ones are being discovered every day. By studying them with satellite observations, scientists have found that these maelstroms even share the same mathematical properties as black holes. They prevent water from leaving, and some have proven to have kept the water molecules within them for years without letting any escape. Weaker maelstroms with far less power are much more common though, and are usually referred to as whirlpools or water tornadoes. Have you seen any of these yourself? Are there any that you think should have been mentioned? Make sure to leave your comments down below, and thanks for watching.